I like it.
Did everybody have a good dinner?
Yes, thank
Glad
you.
to hear that. So, again, my name is Jim Deralia. I'm the one sponsoring this program and brought out the newsletter, Troy News Now. Kind of felt, since the trustees dropped it, people should know what's going on in this town again. And I thought coming up, we've got a very critical election coming up this fall, that people should have the ability to hear what each one of our candidates has to say. And I thought also we should know what's going on in our county. So I brought in some other guest speakers to talk about it too. Little background about me. I've lived in Troy for 65 years, been on Mumford Road all my life. I've been involved in politics for 50 years. My background is finance, real estate, and law. A couple of things I've done. I've been on the zoning board at least 2 terms. A couple of things I'm happy about with that is that years ago we were concerned about a potential influx of some inappropriate material being at gas stations or in the area. And I introduced the SOB, which is Sexual Oriented Business Regulations, to Troy, which I was happy at the time our entire zoning board agreed with it, so did our trustees. That's here to protect our town and our people. Also, when the trustees about 10 years ago wanted to get rid of our memorial for the military, our cannons, I stepped up to the plate, and my friend Dave Lampert right over here, both of I really worked on it, rebuilt the cannons, had them all painted, and they put them out. That's our memorial to our vets. Without our vets, we wouldn't be free here. So remember that. I'm a proud son. My father was a World War II vet, sniper. My mom worked on Norton Bomb Site Project. Couldn't be a happier son. So moving along, Dave Lampert, I wanted to say he was my partner in the cannons. A couple of people I wanted to mention too. Joe Mayros, probably our lead person on zoning board. He and I disagree on some things, but we've always come to a conclusion of what's best. So say hello to Joe. A couple other people here too. Bob and Patty Hoomer, you probably know, road department, cemetery. You know, he picks up the road, she puts it in the ground. So, let's see if we got you, Joe. And I want to introduce somebody special. You know, we had a road at the nuke plant up north. Ed Phillippe's here. He's a radiological senior health physicist, but he takes care of all the coordinate, monitor, and evaluates the scientific and technical information related to health, physics, and emergency response. The plant glows, call him. So, a couple rules for the road. Okay, I'm the moderator. I'm not a commentator. I don't plan on saying anything unless something gets a little bit out of line or something that's completely out of whack. So, okay, we're here to hear what the guest speakers have to say, as well as our candidates. Nobody wants to hear your comments. Nobody wants to hear my comments. So be respectful to them. If you may disagree with what they got to say or me, keep it to yourself. No offense. We don't need to have any outbursts from anyone. Do not interfere with the speakers. Always be respectful and civil to everybody. If you have questions for us, there's cards up there and pens. All questions have been submitted in writing. If you have something else you forgot to mention, please write the card down and bring it over to me, and I'll try to slide it in. We've got quite a few questions from the public, and we're going to be from the public, so I've got a pretty full agenda already. Some are directed directly at specific candidates, some are just generals too. So at this point, I'd like to introduce you to our first guest speaker, Judge Tim Grindell. I've known Tim for, good God, 40 years. A couple things you may not know what he's done for even Troy and for our people here. One of the things he did was there used to be a family on Geauga Road that used to hold dinners at their home. They had disabled people. Well, the health department got all over them and wanted to shut them down. Tim introduced legislation for them, for the health department to leave them go. They were doing it for a goodwill offering for the dinners to help their disabled family members. He got legislation to get the health department to back off of them. Another thing, the Amish don't like to register to vote because they're worried about jury duty. And some more legislation he put through was that you can exempt yourself from religious or from jury duty for religious exemption. So please recognize our Judge Tim Grindell, probate court.
I hope you can all hear me. I hate microphones.
Me too.
They hear me in the court without a microphone, so hopefully you'll hear me here. First of all, on behalf of my wife Diane, who's retired from our Court of Appeals, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight, and thank Jim for the chance to have a free dinner. I'm not going to bore you with too much information. Everything he described was during my days as a state senator. Contrary to what you've read in the papers, I am still the juvenile and probate court judge of Geauga County and will be for one more year, only because I have crossed 70, ergo why I'm leaning against this pillar. And you cannot run for judge once you cross 70 in Ohio. You can finish your term, but you can't run for judge. It's the only position in Ohio that's aged out. You can run for governor all the way down to dog catcher at the age of 90, but judge, you stop at 70, and I'm going to tell you, I think that's a good idea. I'll real quickly give you a little thoughts about Geauga County's judicial setup. We have 4 judges in the county. We have a municipal court in Chardon that handles all the lower type things, your traffic tickets, your misdemeanors, some of your minor civil actions. And then we have the Common Pleas Court, which has 3 judges. There's a general division that is in the main courthouse. And as you can see, they're building a back of the main courthouse. And the judges will be moving, as I understand it, to the back of that building. And my predecessor someday may be moving to the front. We are not located. There's 2 judges over there, Judge Paskey, Judge Rambo. I'm going to tell you, Judge Rambo has been a pleasant addition to the Common Pleas Court. I believe we are very fortunate to have that young man as a judge. I think he's doing a great job in his first year on the bench. They handle felonies. They handle big civil actions where people are getting sued over big dollars, and that's across the street. They have 2 magistrates. My court is the Juvenile and Probate Court. I've been on the bench 14 years this past September. I have 14 months to go. Our court is located in the courthouse annex. That's that red brick building on the west side of Chardon Square, across the street from the main courthouse. We are on the 2nd floor. The juvenile court handles juvenile court. What is that? Well, we handle your delinquencies for young people. And I'm happy to say that in general, in 14 years, the number of delinquent cases we have has dropped off dramatically. Right. Now, there may be a couple reasons for that. One is, and if you look around the room, our county is getting older. Therefore, there are less juveniles to get in trouble living in Geauga County. Secondly, I think they're just doing less prosecution, trying to deal with these matters in a less penal type approach. I will say this, though, the nature of some of our juvenile matters have still been serious. I was on the bench 5 months when T.J. Lane shot up the Chardon cafeteria. That was my introduction to this job. I still have nightmares from watching the video from that cafeteria, and even though I'm a 5-year Army guy, I can't watch Army movies, Westerns, or anything of violence anymore because of that case. I would like to tell you that was the only case in 14 years of school violence in this county. And you don't hear about juvenile court cases because we don't publicize them. But in the last couple of years, we had a young man in one of our school districts who brought a gun to school with the intention of shooting up his study hall at 1:30. In the morning, he went into the bathroom to load the firearm. He dropped 1 bullet on the floor. Another student came in and found the bullet, took it to the principal's office, and the principal, along with their police officer who worked in that school, watched the video of that bathroom outside door and interviewed 21 students before they found the student who had the gun, 20 minutes before he was scheduled to go in and shoot up his study hall. We have had 4 or 5 bomb threats in our schools. I have 2 of those pending today. We've had 1 young man who went into a school with a machete, intending to cause harm. They found him curled up in the fetal position on the bathroom. He had a nervous breakdown before he could go out and cause the harm he was intending to cause in the school. The nature of things we're seeing today are less but worse. We are seeing bigger use of drugs in our younger people. We're seeing a meth problem in this county when it comes to adults. Why does that pertain to me in the juvenile court? Because one of the jobs of the juvenile court is taking children away from parents when they're in a situation which puts the children in harm's way. And unfortunately, if mom is on meth and dad is on meth, those children are not in a safe environment. And we are still struggling with a meth problem in this county. A few years back, we had the heroin problem. In my first 4 months when heroin hit this county, we buried 11 parents who died of overdoses before they came back for their second court hearing. After they embellished Narcan, which is the drug that when you take heroin and you OD, your lungs stop working. If you take Narcan and zap yourself with Narcan, it will get your lungs to work again. Narcan is prevalent now with law enforcement, with fire departments, and with other folks. You can get it yourself and have it in your home. And Narcan has stopped people from dying. It hasn't necessarily stopped people from using the drugs. But we deal with the outshake of drugs when it comes to parents being taken away, and we still have that. The best thing we've done in the last year or two, and it's been with the help of, with the support of the commissioners, is when I took this job, our detention center was the Portage Geauga County Detention Center down in Shalersville. And so if I put a child in detention, the sheriff's deputies have to transfer them from Chardon to Shalerville. And then when we had hearings, they had to bring them back from Shalerville to Chardon. More importantly, we paid, you as taxpayers paid, for a percentage of that detention center based on our percentage of use. So if we had 25% of use in 1 year, we paid 25% of $2 million to run that center, or roughly $500,000. About 10 years ago, I asked Judge Lawson in Lake County, why can't we use you, the Lake County Detention Center? It's closer, and we'll just pay you by the night. She turned me down. Unfortunately, Judge Lawson passed away, and Judge DeLeon came in. And I made the same pitch, and he agreed. And so today, we're not paying for the Portage Geauga County Detention Center $350,000 to $500,000 a year. We're paying $125 a night to send the child to the Lake County Detention Center. And so this year, instead of paying $300,000 to $400,000 or $500,000, we will pay less than $50,000 for detention for this year. And so that's saving our county a lot of money, not just this year, but for years to come. And the sheriff's deputy only has to drive from Painesville to Chardon and Chardon to Painesville instead of Shalerville. So we're saving their time and saving the cost of doing that. And as I said, the truth is, when I took this job, and Judge Henry had it before me, we were averaging 13 to 15 kids in detention at any given time. I'm happy to tell you today I have nobody in detention. We've been able to use other services to try to address the problems of these young folks as they're going along. When I took this job, I believed there was a lot of bad kids. I now believe there's a lot of kids who are in a bad situation. The trauma that they have lived through in their life is something I couldn't even recognize. I had two parents who loved me and would have bled to death for me. These kids don't have that family situation, and they're reacting to the trauma that they have had to live through. So most of the kids in Geauga County, I'm glad to tell you, aren't bad kids. They're just kids who need some help because they've been raised in a bad situation. So that's the juvenile court. The probate court, and I handed out some information for you here. Probate court handles a bunch of things. We handle guardianships. Our county is getting older. And because it's getting older, the probate court has doubled in what we're doing. We have more guardianships where people need somebody to take care of them because they can't take care of themselves, and their children have moved to points out of Ohio and they need help, or the children just don't want to help them. We have civil commitments. If you have somebody who's having a mental health problem and there's a danger to themselves or the community, we conduct the hearings and decide whether they need to be committed in the Geauga County Behavioral Health Unit or in a state hospital. And those cases have gone up dramatically since COVID. We have seen a lot more of those cases than we did before COVID. We take care of your estates, people who pass away and have to transfer property. If they don't have certain things to avoid probate, they're going to come to see us so that we can transfer the property. And that brings us to this pamphlet I gave you today. This is called the Good Deeds Program. I started this program over 10 years ago. If you do everything in this pamphlet and you pass away, and I have some bad news for everybody in the room here, the only thing I know as a judge for certain is all of us someday will pass away. That's just a fact. So if you want to prepare for that, do everything in this pamphlet. And when you pass away, your estate will pass to your relatives or your friends or whoever you want it to go to without ever coming to probate court. You will save the time, you will save the money and the aggravation. Have a joint and survivorship deed with your spouse. Have a transfer on death affidavit to your children if you're the surviving spouse. Have transfer on death or payable on death on your bank accounts at the bank so you don't have to come and see us to transfer your bank accounts. Make sure your beneficiaries on the insurance policy are still alive. And if not, get you people on there who are going to survive you. And if you do all these steps, neither you or your family will ever have to come to probate court. This program's been so successful, we've been able to eliminate 2 clerks at the court because we've been able to cut down all the small estate stuff because people are doing this. We hold a program several times a year. You'll get a robocall when the next one is going to be held. You're welcome to come to the program. They're free. We go through this checklist for 45 minutes. But if you can read it yourself and do it yourself, talk to your banker, talk to your insurance man, save your family a lot of aggravation. And last but not least, on this card, we talk about the Good Deeds Program, but we also talk about our help center. I started a help center at our court several years ago. We have a retired lawyer, David Welty, who provides free legal instruction and advice. He cannot represent you, but he can help you do your own thing. And so if you have questions about your estate, if you're looking at this brochure and you have questions, you're welcome to call Mr. Welty and set up an appointment. It is free. And come and see Mr. Welty if you have questions or you need some assistance in doing this, and you will be able to have some ability to get this done yourself without running up a big legal fee in the process. The probate court, like I said, is quite busy. We are, since COVID, the number of caseload has gone up dramatically, in part because people are living longer and then dying, and in part because people are having more health problems for a variety of reasons, probably not related to COVID, but that end up coming before our court for guardianships. So that is what I wanted to tell you about today. The county judicial system's in good shape. We are functioning well, and if you have any issues with your probate issues, call the help center, follow the checklist, save yourself some money. Thank you, Jim, for the chance to be out here. I'll pass this on to other folks.
Thank you, Judge Riddell, for coming out and speaking to us. You all have probably found this very informative. I know going through it with a family member how much help they've been. I also want to recognize 2 people, too. Judge Diane Gwendell, who was also one of our state reps before. Thank you very much for all your service you did.
This is great that we have this. Thank you.
So, and also forgot my partner over here, Jim McNeil, who without his help, hang on. Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. All right. I don't know if I couldn't hear myself sometimes. Jim McNeil here. We've worked together on many projects together, politically and otherwise. Very intelligent engineer. Holds, 26 patents?
15.
Oh, well, close. Yeah, somewhere in that number, too. On patents and stuff in aerospace, et cetera, and special gas things. So, you've been a very great help. So, I want to thank you again, Jim. Okay, next speaker. Commissioner Ralph Spitaleri.
I'll try to keep this short. I appreciate the invite tonight, Jim, and I wanted to come out tonight and just basically introduce myself. I've been a commissioner here since 2012, so about I'll be starting my 14th year here in November, and So my background is I've been a police officer since 1989. I just retired recently from the Portage County Sheriff's Office as the chief deputy there. So I totally understand the law enforcement world and the importance of having a good, strong group of people to be able to continue to keep your county safe. It's been something that I actually campaigned to back in 2012 when I came on. We were losing double digits, potentially up to triple digits due to the heroin overdose, and we were basically sitting there with our hands on under our butts and not doing anything. And I basically talked to a couple of the commissioners, and it just didn't seem to be a priority. Well, what I can tell you is, when I got in there, I basically put a huge effort to say you either pay now or you're going to triple pay later if you don't start to address the issues. And when I came on as a commissioner, we didn't even have a detective bureau that was focused strictly on the narcotics in the sheriff's office. We just had, general purpose, general duty type of a detective bureau. Well, we were able to commit about $550,000 to start that, and I can tell you that Geauga County became the place that you did not want to take and sell drugs in, and you did not want to do it. And we made our communities that much safer because the deputies took it very serious. They did a phenomenal job. The prosecution side of it was doing what they needed to do, and it was a community that came together. And I can tell you that when I went to Portage County, the difference of what policing was there compared to what policing was here was two totally different things. When I got there, I did the majority of the death notifications as the chief, and I could tell you that it was grueling to have to walk up to a door and tell family members that one of their loved ones has passed away. And what I saw there and what I could see just here in Geauga County was like this invisible wall. And thank you for your service there, and thank you for the law enforcement that is here, because kudos to them. Truly, we have a great county, and I fight every day to continue to keep our troops equipped and supplied with what they need, the training, the salaries that they need to attract and retain good people. And it's important. We got a great group of people. I'm here tonight too. I'm the senior commissioner on the board. We've got one commissioner that's been there in finishing his second term, which would be 8 years. A new commissioner just came on board that's been there for about 10 months, and I'm basically here that through the 14 years of me being a commissioner, I've often just tried to. I thought that the professional thing to do was to stay neutral and not voice my opinion when it came to politics. I'm a Republican. I'm a God-fearing Republican. I believe in God, and I believe that one day we'll be judged for what we do in this life today. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. But what I will tell you is that through the years, I think I've made bad decisions based on the fact that I did not get behind certain candidates. I have a fairly good knowledge of a lot of people. I also own Great Lakes Outdoor Supply here in Geauga County, a store in Middlefield and a store in Chesterland. Not sure if you guys have ever been there or not, but we're right down the street here. And so I touch a lot of people, and I try to help a lot of people also through all the different programs. But what I can tell you is I am encouraged this year that I see the dysfunction that we have right now in our county as far as politics. And I have gotten myself to the point that you're going to hear from Steve Olowich, who's going to be running for commissioner, that I can tell you over the years I've always had the ability of having good, reasonable commissioners, at least one out of the group. And now it's a situation where it's a battle, and I'm not here to talk politics, and I'm not here to badmouth anybody. I'm just here to basically give you the truth and the facts. And the facts is we are not working as a team. And you don't accomplish things when you've got a team of three and one person's opinion means nothing. And that person's opinion that's going on right now is myself. And I can tell you that I've been seasoned in knowing going through the trials and tribulations of different things and understanding what it takes to become successful. I understand what it means to make payroll as a business owner and providing for your employees and your employees' families. I understand what it's like to go through, tough times in the county when, pay raises are not a thing. But it's not always, sugar and roses, but sometimes you gotta make the hard call. But what I can tell you is that there's a lot of influences right now, and we've lost a couple of our directors, we've lost a couple of key employees, and we continue to lose them because of the way that the work conditions are. We've got a great county, but you need good leaders and good leadership. And I can tell you that I have had so many people come up to me that have basically, in tears many times, to ask me for my permission if they could put my name on a reference letter, and that they can't work there anymore. And it comes up to the fact that it starts at the top, and it starts at the top with the commissioners. And I feel like what I can do is this: I can be out here speaking to people like you. That I appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to do this, and I am going to 100% get behind a candidate that I know has integrity, trust, and honor, and that's going to do the right thing and be able to support and direct and lead the way that it should be done. And that person is Steve Olowich, that you're going to hear from in a little bit. So I never really got involved in the whole political scene, and I'm sure that you guys know I run a pretty intense campaign when I do. I self-funded my campaign every time because I didn't want to owe anybody. God's blessed me with a successful business, and I have not had to go out and take donations and have to be, thankful to anybody to basically get me in there. All I ask is for your vote and support. And I feel that that's always been a good thing to do because it keeps me very neutral and doesn't have to put me in an awkward position when I have to make a decision otherwise. But this year will be a different year that you will definitely see me out there campaigning for Steve Olowich, and hopefully we can get across the finish line in May to get the primary one. There are a couple of other county positions also that are open that we do need to find some good people, and I will be there. And I hope that you don't take this communication to you guys and what I'm saying as arrogant or indirect or as a bad thing. I'm saying it from my heart. I didn't prepare a speech because I don't need to write something down to be able to tell you the way that it is. So the truth is what the truth is, and I need help up there. And the only way that I could get that help is through your votes for Steve Olowich. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. You know what? It's a heartfelt speech. You and I agree. I've been up there at the meeting. Maybe some of you saw me on GTV in January. You probably remember when Jim Flays, our sheriff, and Walter tried to get rid of our dog warden. I'm sure probably a lot of you remember that in the paper about how unfairly they treated him, and they basically lied about him. And now the judge is gone, so I guess I can use the L word. Untruthful statements. I'm in court. If I was in front of the judge, he'd eviscerated me for that statement. So I spoke, and about that, and we still have the proper warden or dog warden in there too. So we've got problems in Geauga County. From Flays, Waldo, and a bunch of those. We need to make changes on that. So, anyways, I'd like to introduce Steve Olowich. Jim Nixon and I read his resume on this and went, we haven't done much in life, have we?
No.
Okay. Okay. Bosnia, called the Mad Serb out there. He served 27 years in the Army. He's a brother of mine. Okay. rat. I could go on. This was out of the paper, out of the Cleveland Plain, or the Plain Dealer, a couple of years ago. Worked was a dean at Lakeland and a counterterrorism expert. I'm not going to take any more time up. Steve can tell you all about himself and what he has to offer.
Yeah, we're running.
Would you like the microphone, sir?
Can you all hear me? Do I need the microphone? Can't hear me? Oh, okay. That's my command voice. So, thank you very much, Jim, for inviting me tonight. You know, I'm not on the November ballot. I'm in May. I'm primarying Mr. Dvorak. And I think Mr. Spitaleri hit a lot upon the things that are going on, but I'll share a little more detail with you. My background, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, west side of Cleveland by Metro Health. My dad was a steel worker at Republic Steel. Immigrants, my parents, Germany and Yugoslavia, typical Cleveland story. Went to high school, public school system. I graduated of Rhodes High School, Rhodes Rams. Go get them. And then from there I went to college. And while in college, the economy took a turn. I decided to go into geology, and I went into geology because I could get a job sitting on a well rig somewhere. In the meantime, the Army started appealing to me. So I actually enrolled in ROTC at John Carroll. I was a student at Case Western, and I went in the Army in 1983, and I spent 27 and a half years on active duty as an engineer officer.
Thank you for your service.
You're more than welcome. I do it all again. Maybe not today's service. Better, but that's another story. So I retired in 2010. And while I was in Africa on a deployment, my wife wanted to buy a horse for my daughter, so we got a horse. And I didn't go move to the west side of Cleveland. I wound up coming to Geauga, wonder why, with a horse. So, and I never regret it. I've been a resident in Hamden for the past 15 years. I have a son and two daughters. They're all adults now. They're not that young. But anyhow, once I retired from the Army, and I retired out of West Point, I was a professor and assistant dean at West Point for about 5-6 years. I walked right into a job at Lakeland. I was a dean of arts and sciences. So public service is really inculcated into who I am. So I was there for about 8 years. I decided to leave there, and then I made the one decision that I don't know was ever smart. I went into the Veterans Service Center at the county administration and I said, hey, they need a guy in Department of Water Resources, the director. You're an engineer officer, you could do that job. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could. And commissioners, at that time, Skip Claypool, Mr. Spitaleri, and Mr. Lennon hired me, like within 48 hours, to go take control. And I did. Okay, I did. I'm a leader. How many veterans we have in here? Quite a few veterans, police, fire, police, okay. You know, when you talk leadership, there's a certain definition to that, right? Get people to do what they normally wouldn't do if not led by you. So leadership it's a very ineffable description of what it is, but we're lacking that in the county, right? We're lacking leadership. Leadership inculcates decision making, being honest, telling the people the truth, transparency. Now, I worked for almost 5 years as the water department guy and got a lot of things done. I didn't do too much in Troy. Troy's, doesn't have a large population. The EPA didn't have anything going on here. I know Parkman pretty well and some other of the townships. And I enjoyed working there. But started having challenges there because as retired lieutenant colonel, and what I've done over my life, I'm a combat veteran, all the places I've been over the world, I don't like taking BS from people. And you have a lot of people here, the Eagles are more important than the residents of this county. And that's a huge problem. Because in the military, you always have a mission. The police have a mission. The fire has a mission. The mission trumps everything. Commissioners are the chief administrative officers of the county. They're the leadership of the county. Not the prosecutor, not the treasurer, not the auditor, none of them. The commissioners are the three that run this county. And they're the ones that approve the budget and everything else that goes on in here. That lately has fell to the wayside not because of Mr. Spitalarian. If I criticize commissioners, I'm not criticizing Ralph, because he's one of the reasons I made the stupid decision to throw my name out there. We do need leadership. We have allowed the certain political elements in Chardon to usurp the authority that the commissioners have. And it's a shame on us as citizens to allow that to happen. I noticed, I've been going to the township meetings as best I can. I've been on the road a lot. There's a disconnect between the townships and the county, in my opinion. And if you look at, I taught geography at West Point, and it's a lot more than capitals and rivers. But anyhow, if you look at Geauga County, and you look at east to west, south to north, it's very, very unique. You might as well be in West Virginia, or you might as well be in Cleveland, Ohio, the population. And the needs are different by the townships. Roads, heavy equipment, fire, policing services in some of the townships, especially smaller townships, really don't get a cut of the pie to support their mission and what they're doing. Larger townships, Bainbridge, Chardon, much greater population, much more larger tax base, they do have more of that. That's a problem I think that needs to be addressed. We struggle under a county that's wealthy. Now, not everyone in here is wealthy, I know that. But we belabor the fact that we're next to Chagrin Falls, we're next to Hunting Valley, and that bleeds all over. We have a lot of wealthy individuals here, and that's great, that's success. But they don't really care what goes on for the most part at the local level. They really don't, because they can afford to pay the bills, they can pay the taxes, they have nice huge houses and lots. But in the smaller communities, and more in the rural one, there's a need for a little more, should I say, sugar to help take care of things in the townships, the roads, the stupid things like alternators on equipment. My goal is to help that out by spreading the wealth, if you will. While I wish I could do something about property taxes, I can't, but I think it's something that the commissioners should take up because we feed info to Columbus. And we have to be adamant in our position on that. And no one seems to be wise to how we're going to get out of this Gordian knot with property taxes. The other thing is, I want offices to stay in their sandbox. I want the prosecutor, which I can't tell him what to do, he's an elected official. I want him to stay in his sandbox and not tell commissioners how to do their job. They don't approve anything. Something that really drives me crazy at the commissioner sessions is when a commissioner says, well, we're waiting on the prosecutor's office approval. What? Approval for what? They don't approve anything. It's the commissioners that approve everything. So when you hear that, you start hearing the excuses and you start digging into the issues, and it all comes down to personality conflict. He doesn't like her, she doesn't like him, so on and so forth. And they let that bleed over into serving the public. And that's nonsense. No one gets held accountable. I could tell you many stories, what I saw. I saw the sausage being made there, blood sausage, the 5 years I worked there. And I was disgusted by it. And the working environment got too rough. It just got too rough because I was tired of taking the BS from people that were not in my chain of command. And I turned in my letter of resignation. I said it's better to walk away than cause a scene somewhere. Because remember, I'm a retired Army officer, and I've had a lot of responsibility in my life over time. I'm a Fulbright scholar. I got my master's from the Army, thank you taxpayer, University of Cincinnati, and then I received my PhD from Kent State, courtesy of the taxpayer, thank you. That's why I went to teach at the academy. And I loved it. And I loved the Army, okay? In the Army, you didn't get along with everybody, but you had the mission to keep everyone together. And there was this camaraderie, if you will, or the notion of we're all in this together. Because if you're not, someone's going to die in the military. Okay? But out here, it's not like that. Personalities become a real problem. And it's time to have a little bit of a house cleaning. I can tell you right now, I'm not as old as Judge Grendel. I'm 65. Sometimes I have a beard and sometimes I don't. I have earthy humor. I like a good joke. A laugh and a smile takes a lot of tension out of the air. But people haven't been treated right, and that's one of the reasons I'm running. Ralph needs assistance up there. I know the other two commissioners, one pretty well, because I had to work for him for about 5 years. And the new lady who's in there is, in my opinion, a big disappointment, because people ask me, especially when I go to county, what do you think of so-and-so? And I say, well, are you asking me the so-and-so before the election or the so-and-so after the election? And they said, well, what do you think? I said, everything she said before the election was great and she got elected. Everything since has been 180 degrees opposite of what she told me in personal conversations. You know, you might have seen me out and about. Ralph does the Veterans Sports Fest every year at his Great Lakes store. This year was the 7th year we did it. It's a great event for veterans. If you've ever not been there, it's fun. We have a lot of fun. The Amish are there. The whole community is there. And that's, you know, who's missing right now is the Amish component. But I really think it's important that we sit back and look at what's going on. I am not on the November ballot. That's what everyone keeps asking me. It's in May, and I'm seeking your vote because I want to bring positive change, I want to bring enthusiasm, and I want to bring leadership to the commissioners and start reorganizing the county in certain things. Township, have you had any problems with ADP and computers and budget meetings? You know, I think one of the worst things I ever see are the budget committee meetings where the trustees have to go in front of the that holy trinity, let's call it, that auditor, prosecutor, and treasurer, and how the township trustees are treated by them as if they're ignorant and don't know what they're doing. Trustees know more than commissioners about what the needs in their townships are. And that's very important. And I think the townships need to inform the commissioners on what the needs are and sharing resources in the county. Because we have a lot of resources in the county, but we're all stovepiped. I'll tell you a story real quick. I was in the I was in the annex over at on the square. I was running the water department. I'm sitting there, and gentleman comes out, the prosecutor, and he's raising Cain with the facilities guy who just resigned, Glenn Vernick. Glenn Vernick, 22 years in the Navy, a CB. He knows construction, a solid man, but he just couldn't take the abuse, treated like crap. And to be honest with you, it's the commissioner's responsibility to protect the directors, because that's who the directors report to. There was something with the switch or an outlet, and I'm sitting there, and they want to go out and
1 minute notice, sorry.
You know, I'm a retired lieutenant colonel.
Yes, sir.
And so what happened, I'm sitting there, and they're talking about a contractor, and this poor gentleman, Glenn Vernick's getting beat up. I said, wait a second. Yo, I have 2 industrial electricians in my shop. If you need an electrician, I can see if my guys aren't out on a wastewater plant or out in a water facility. If they're free, they could come in here and fix this in 10 minutes. Why would you go get a contractor? Call my guys. They came right up. There was a switch that was broken. So don't trust lawyers when it comes to electronics. But anyhow, those are some little things, little insights. I don't like how people are treated in commissioner sessions right now. If you get up and go to one of the sessions and you ask a question, you're not going to get an answer. And you feel like an idiot. You stand there and say, why are we doing this and that? And then you just get the bobs from the front table. That's got to stop. You all pay the taxes. You all pay what the commissioners make, and all the officers. They all serve you. And I see this as my last step in my career pathway, and I'm not a politician. And I will swear on the Bible and to the Lord, I am not a politician, and that's not going to help this county. We need people with vigor, enthusiasm, optimism, and the ability to make decisions and see what's important and what's not important, to share information with the community that pays our bills, and then give the hard decision and say, well, we couldn't do it because of this. We can't, because you can't satisfy everyone. Anyone that has a family knows you can't satisfy everyone in the family. And with that, in my 2 minutes probably, I apologize for going over, but I'll be here if you have any questions or anything like that. I want to know some great war stories, whatever. I'll be right over here next to Skip Claypool. Thank you very much.
You know, I made a boo-boo. I was recognizing people in here. I want to recognize James. She's our fiscal officer. Please stand up. the county, she's the only one that's gotten a perfect rating for like 3 or 4 years. Out of all the other townships. That's pretty darn good for a girl that makes $1.95 a day doing it for here. So I don't know why the hell they get paid, but I mean, it's like, I wouldn't do that job. So she does a good job. Our books are clean. I may disagree with her a couple things on the money managing, but I'm a money manager though too, so that's a whole different story. So just want to let you know, the only person in the county that's gotten 3 or 4 years excellent rating. So give her another applause. All right, now on to my friend Skip Claypool. Everybody overran, so you've got 32 seconds to tell us about Nowaka. So I've got the watch on. So
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Jim asked me to tell you all there is to know about Nowaka in 10 minutes. I can't even spell Nowaka in 10 minutes. But I'm going to give it my best shot. But before I do that, Jim, I'm going to beg for forgiveness and maybe an extra 30 seconds because I want to say this about this gentleman over here that just spoke to you. As he mentioned, Ralph Spitaleri and Tim Lennon and I hired him when I was a county commissioner a number of years ago. And it wasn't even a question. When we saw the resumes and we read his resume, we said, yeah, this is the guy we want to hire. And he did a great job most of the time. Except when he didn't do what I told him to do, but he did a great job for the county. And I will tell you this, too, that man right over there is the best commissioner we've had in I can't tell you how long. And it's unfortunate that the situation has developed the way that it is. Unfortunately, I lost a couple of times I ran for commissioner again, didn't make it for whatever reason. Maybe because I'm too outspoken or whatever. People have their own reasons and opinions. But I will tell you, because I've served with this guy, and I've known him for a long time, and I think I'm his friend. I think he would call me his friend. And so he put me on the Nowaka board. Thank you for the fun that I'm having down there. And so I'm on the Nowaka board on the Geauga County Planning Commission because of Mr. Spitaleri. And so I stay engaged in a lot of stuff. I see what's going on in the county, and I can underline some of the stuff that Steve was talking about. It's very disappointing. I moved to Geauga County 20 years ago, and I chose Geauga County for a reason. I could have lived any place I wanted to, but I chose Geauga County because of the culture, because of the people. I grew up on a farm when I was young and all that kind of stuff. And so, it's disappointing that Ralph doesn't get the support that he needs to get in order to make some things happen, and I won't get into all the other Tammany Hall stuff that's happening. But I will say, I think a lot of both of these gentlemen here. And by the way, we have the best probate court judge that we've had that I can remember in this county. And he's taken a beating by some people, and undeservedly. So with that said, let's go on to Nowaka. How many people even know what Nowaka is? Do you know the name? You know what that is at all? Okay, they're impacting your life. You ought to probably know who they are. Nowaka, Northeast Ohio Area Coordinating Agency. It's what they call a Metropolitan Planning Organization. Metropolitan Planning Organizations were established in the 1960s under the Great Society movement that happened with all the other great things that happened out of that particular area. I happened to be in that era, and so I'm a little disappointed in my peers for establishing a lot of that Great Society nonsense. But it is established by the federal government. Each of us pays 18.4 cents a gallon gas tax. Every time you pump that pump, you're paying 18.4 cents a gallon of gas tax. That goes to the federal government. They skim off a piece. They give it back to the state, and then they give it back to us to be able to take care of our federal, and I want to underline that, federal roads and bridges. Not our township roads and bridges. We take care of those ourselves through levies. Not our county roads and bridges. We take care of those with county levies. Not the state roads and bridges. We take care of those with a 38 cents a gallon gas tax that we pay. Only the federal highways are taken care of with the 18.4 cents a gallon gas tax. And the federal government, in their ultimate wisdom, they always come up with the great ideas, said that we need these things called MPOs, Metropolitan Planning Organizations, when you have a population greater than 50,000. And so for every urbanized community, the Cleveland urbanized community has a population greater than 50,000, they get to control, or they have to establish this thing called an MPO that controls where that 18.4 cents a gallon gas tax goes to. So they set up this thing called an MPO. We've got one called NOACA. There's 5 counties in it. There's 17 MPOs in the state of Ohio. I've got 3 hours or 4 hours worth of presentation. I'm trying to collapse it to 10 minutes. But I will tell you why it's important that you understand at least who they are, and then maybe Jim can invite me back and I'll give you my 2-hour presentation so you can get a lot more detail. But they're located in Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, and we happen to be a member. There's 26 members. When we first established the MPO, by the way, there were 3 county commissioners from every county. Now, there's 3 county commissioners from Geauga County, 26 members from Cleveland and Cuyahoga County, and 3 from each of the other ring counties, what I will call ring counties. So there's a total of 19 votes on the board from the ring counties, the rural communities, and 26 from Cleveland and Cuyahoga County. Who do you think controls that board?
Yeah.
Cleveland and Cuyahoga County. They control all of the decisions having to do with the money. It's your money. You pay $10 million a year in federal gas tax, goes back to the federal government. Guess how much we get back? Not much. Maybe 100. We used to get 1 to 2 million out of 10 million. Not bad, I guess. But we don't get that today. We're lucky if we get a few $100,000. We might get $1 million back because they use criteria like DEI. Thank God for President Trump, because he just recently did an executive order to do away with DEI, so they can't use that criteria any longer. But they're now using a criteria called areas of persistent poverty. So if you've got an area of persistent poverty, they get to use that as a criteria to direct that money into Cleveland and Cuyahoga County. I sit on the board, it drives me nuts, although I drive them a little crazy too, because I'm pretty outspoken and I speak to their nonsense. And it's fun, actually. But they use all of this goofiness to make decisions to direct our money into Cleveland. Not only that, it goes well beyond that. Because they've got this council on governments now, all of these various cities from Cleveland and Cuyahoga County and the surrounding counties and all that kind of stuff are there, and they get to make decisions. Because they have this council on governments, and the Council on Governments under Ohio law gets to decide anything else it wants to do. It's decided it now wants to control things having to do with the EPA. So our sewer system is now flows through, we've got something called 208 zones, which are the sewer systems. The control of that goes through NOACA. We don't have to. It's not required by law. The EPA likes to do that because it's easier to work with NOACA. So they now oversee that. They recently came up with a climate action plan, which Jim McNeil is going to talk a little bit following me. The climate action plan I pushed back on, and if anybody thinks CO2 is contributing to global warming, yeah, not so much. And there's a lot of facts and figures that we can show you on that. I wish I had more time. I could talk to you about that. But they came up with a climate action plan, and I will tell you one thing out of the plan that impacts Geauga County directly. They came up with this great idea called carbon sequestration. You take CO2 out of the air using a device, you compress it, and you inject it into the ground. Guess where they want to inject that CO2? In Geauga County. There's a map that they have in their climate action plan where they're going to take CO2 out of the air in Cleveland, compress it, pipe it through Geauga County, and pump it down in the center of Geauga County, either Geauga County or Jefferson County. And that's going to be their solution for saving the world and making sure that the global climate doesn't change. That's just one of many, many things that they want to do. They just created an economic development district, which we're a part of. I'm not sure why. But they want to now control the economic development plans for the region. Anybody been downtown Cleveland lately? Are you impressed with how they're doing with an economic development plan in downtown Cleveland or Cuyahoga County? Everybody's trying to leave Cleveland and Cuyahoga County. They got all kinds of drugs downtown. I mean, you don't even get me started. But they now created a district for economic development so that they can influence the entire region, Geauga County included. So why is it important? And I'm not going to go, I could go on and on and on for, like I said, quite a while with lots more examples of why it's important to people in Geauga County. This is my opportunity to introduce you to who they are, and hopefully you can always call me, you can ask me questions, you can invite me in to speak to other groups about who they are and what they're up to. I'm fighting them as hard as I can, thanks to Ralph. and there's a few other of us, Jim happens to be one of those people, and some others, who are pushing back on a lot of stuff that they're trying to do. There's a gentleman, and you can write this down. This is something you can do to help. There's a gentleman by the name of Mike DeVella. I've tried to get our state representatives for a long time to change or create some Ohio law that interferes with how they operate, because they've got total control of the board. Mike DeVilla is a representative out of the 17th District in Ohio. Tomorrow, he's testifying to the state legislature on legislation he wants to create to put chains on NOACA, to bring balance back to the board. Personally, I don't believe they're constitutional. We should just do away with MPOs. They're not a constitutional entity. But they exist, and there's nothing I can't change that. What we can do is we can change how they operate in Ohio, because the federal law that establishes them says that the local communities that make up an MPO decide how they want to run it. It's just Cleveland and Cuyahoga County bullied us and got into the position they're into. And the governor approves that structure. So we can run it any way we want to as a community with the governor approval, and we can change that. Mike DeVilla is going to do that. So Mike DeVilla, you can help him by getting a hold of Sarah Fowler, our state representative. She's in support of this. Steve Dimitro, he's another representative. If you know any of the other state representatives, or if you want to call them, tell them to support Mike DeVilla in his effort to bring control to these MPOs so that they can't do a lot of the nonsense they're doing to Geauga County. So, with that, I'm going to wrap this up. That's who NOACA is, and I think I did it in under 10 minutes.
I'm about 11 and a half, but that's okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
So that's as much as I can tell you. Now, with that said, I touched on the climate change program and CO2. I just came back from Alaska, and I got a presentation while I was up there, and this PhD was talking to us about the relationship between all the complex animals that exist in Alaska and climate. Climate has an impact on animals because if it's warm, small animals populate. The predators eat the small animals, so they populate. Then the bigger predators populate, so everything is interrelated. And the guy that was talking to us talked about the fact that we're in a 20,000-year cycle. We're 12,000 years into a 20-year cycle, climate change. So there's not much we can do about changing that, because that's just a normal, natural process or cycle that our planet goes through.
That's right.
But I mentioned CO2, and the fact that CO2, I asked him the question, does that have an impact? And I don't want to steal Jim's thunder, but there's a heat relationship to CO2 that Jim's going to talk to you about. With that said, Jim McNeil, will you come up and tell them all about that?
Okay, how many of you believe that glaciers are melting?
Hold on one second. Thanks, Skip. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Our state rep, Steve Dimitrios, there's legislation in Columbus to require voters to declare a party 60 days prior to election. A lot of you have been around for a while. Remember you had to declare a party before you could go? Now you check in, I decide what I want to be for the day. I want to be a commie, I want to be a Republican, Democrat. That needs to change. We're losing our elections for good officials where the other party switches over, puts in a bad apple, and then they vote against the bad apple. So you need to call Steve and tell him to get this legislation pushed ahead. For some reason it's stalling. And I'm not sure why it's still sitting in Columbus. It's been there for darn near 6 months. All right, Jim McNeil. Jim's worked a lot with Skip. They both testified in Columbus against the things that NOACA was doing about the goofy climate change. Jim's out and visited some of the sites where they put the sensors for, why we're paying half to get our e-checks and all that. I'm going to let him speak a little bit on that real quickly. And whatever else he wants to talk about, Jim.
Okay. First of all, how many of you believe that glaciers are melting, by the way? Okay. What is the average temperature above glaciers? Somebody happen to know that? It never gets above freezing. It's in the 20s. All right. Glaciers are not melting. When you don't get enough precipitation, your glacier recedes. It has nothing whatever to do with temperature. It has everything to do with precipitation patterns. Speaking of glaciers, monumental research done in the Vostok Glacier in Antarctica, where we've dug down in hundreds of thousands of feet to reach hundreds of thousands of years before in Earth's climatic history. Bring out ice core samples, thaw out the samples, and as they thaw out, The gases that are dissolved into that ice are analyzed, and we can find out that many, many times during Earth's history, we've had far higher concentrations of carbon dioxide with lower temperatures. There is no relationship between CO2 and temperature other than the solubility. The amount of CO2 that will dissolve into liquids is completely temperature dependent. In other words, if the temperature goes down, more carbon dioxide is able to be held into solution. Just open up a bottle of pop or a beer or something, and the CO2 comes out. The colder it is, the less hiss you get. And that's exactly it. When the temperature goes up, then carbon dioxide goes up. It's exactly the opposite relationship of everything that the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has said. And it's been completely exposed in the hacking of the emails of the people who are the leaders of the global climate change scare, blaming carbon dioxide. Just remember one thing. The relationship that you have been told that the more CO2 we have, the higher the temperature, is exactly the opposite of what true foundational science shows. And I belong to a group called the Foundational Science Consortium. We're glad to bring that lie to the surface. CO2 is exactly the opposite of what you have been told. Just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, for that enlightenment, too. You got no CO2, no plants, no oxygen. Remember that, too. All right, our fire chief, Jim Nix. I want to have a chance to meet him a couple of different times. Seems to be a pretty good guy. I'd like to have him talk about what's going on at the fire department, what he thinks, how he's making changes in it, and what we need. Would you like the microphone, or you talk like me too much?
I think everybody can hear me. Okay. Can you hear me in the back? Yeah. For those of you that I've not met, my name's Jim Nix. I'm the fire chief here in Troy Township, and I'm going to keep this brief because I want to get to why you came here. We're doing well over at the fire station. It's been a bumpy road this last 10 months. We've gotten a lot of things fixed over at the station, improvements that needed to be made. Proud to say that all of our fire trucks and ambulances and vehicles we have are all in good working shape at the current moment. We're trying to keep them there. We have some pretty old equipment here, and I'm sure I will be having some discussions with two of the three that are sitting up here. I'm not sure who it will be. That'll be up to you, but how we're going to address going forward. We have two fire trucks that are 25 years old. Normal life expectancy is 20 years. Do the math. We're already 5 years behind. We're going to have to be able to fund two fire trucks. So that's going to be a lot of talks that I hope to be able to have with your new representation come after first of the year. I want to remind everybody we do have a renewal levy on the ballot November 4th. Well, I ask for your support in that. This levy brings in approximately 45% of the levy monies that come into the fire department needed for operations. So we're looking for your support this November on that. If you have any more specific questions on it, you can reach out to your current trustees. You can reach out to me, come by the fire station, give me a call. Not a problem. We currently have 22 personnel on the staffing. We've got 14 of them staffing right now, and I've submitted an application for what's called a 240 paramedic to the current trustees that I hope to get hired here in the next couple of weeks. There has been change. We're working through it, but we're one of the lowest taxed townships in the county. We have a lower income to be able to afford. In years past, townships relied on the families to work with those fire departments. Well, the trends today are not that way. The amount of people on the fire departments in the townships is going away from the local families that supported and lived there to others not within that community. And they're looking around, and frankly, they're looking to see where they can work and make more money. We're getting through it. We're trying to give you the best coverage we can. We have mutual aid agreements with our surrounding neighbors so that if there is a day we do not have coverage, they step up. And there are days when we have it, which lately has improved the last 3 months significantly, that we will cover them as well. Through these agreements we have with our neighboring communities, we try to give you the best possible service we physically can. With your two of the trustees that will be elected this year, I plan on giving them a 5-year and a 10-year master plan. It is what the fire department will need within the first 5 years and how to prepare for the needs of this department in the next 10. I hope to be able to work with the 3 trustees beginning of the year and make that possible, and so we can be where we need to be. Other than that, we've had 641 calls year to date. We're 10 months in. At this track, we should hit 700 to 750, a little higher than normal. Calls are going up, but we're getting to be a little older community. And with the Inn at the Pines, they're not getting any younger over there either. Their call volume's going up quite a bit. So, again, if you have any questions about the fire department, the personnel, the operations, the future of any of it, please call my cell phone, stop by the station, whatever. I don't want to take any more of the time you have and have come here tonight, and I'd like to get to the candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Speaking of real estate taxes and the burden that we're all seeing, especially on the seniors in every place in the state, I'd like to introduce Brian Massey. There's some legislation going on to work with the real estate taxes, get rid of it, and make it come up something else. So, Brian, you got a couple minutes on it? Can you tell us about it?
Sure, I'd be glad to. I don't know how to do both here.
Don't worry about it. You don't have to record you.
Again, I'm Brian Massey, live in Concord Township, and I started into the property tax issue about 10 years ago when I took a look at my own property taxes. In the 10 years I've been in Concord, going up 40%. That's when I said to myself, well, if we stay on this path of ever increasing property taxes, we're going to price myself out of the home. So I started trying to learn everything that I possibly could about property taxes, because I didn't really know. I didn't know inside, outside, village, House Bill 920, 20 bill floor. And I'm not alone. Many of our legislators don't even know it. So don't feel bad if you feel confused about property taxes. It's an overly complex system. I've been to a friend of mine, Leonard Gilbert, he lives in Mentor. He and I, we tried to reach out to our representatives to try to talk to them about property taxes. And because what we were trying to do, our first program was save our seniors. We wanted property taxes when you reach 65 to be totally eliminated for seniors. What we were told by representatives is that they don't believe in carve-outs for seniors. And that was only going to cost the state legislators 3% of their $100 billion budget. So just keep that in mind. What we also found out from our state senator, that if the seniors cannot afford their property taxes, now is the time for you to sell your home and move into an apartment. So when we heard all of that, then we said, we're going to keep going. We went down to the state and we talked to the House Ways and Means Committee. And I spoke before that committee, and they all was very nice. They all smiled. Nobody would meet with us. I went to the Representative Romers. He had a committee to review and reform property taxes. When I started talking about what was going to happen in Lake County, I was about to tell them, because I had calculated what this I knew a couple years ago what this revaluation and the sexennial revaluation was going to cost. So I said to the officials in Lake County, I said, we've got to get the information out to the people. I believe honesty, integrity, and transparency is the key to good governance. So I said, we've got to get that information out. We've got to know how much each taxing authority is going to get and what it's going to cost each individual depending on the taxing district. Because I could see that the 20 mil floor was going to create a tremendous burden on the taxpayers in Lake County. For example, Willoughby East Lake School, I calculated they were going to get over $8 million, and it was going to cost the taxpayers in that taxing district $210 per $100,000 of valuation. No one believed me. They said, Brian, you're crazy. But I was also told by Lake County officials, Brian, you can't say anything to anybody about this. I said, why not? Well, if you tell them the truth, they're not going to vote for these levies that are on the ballot.
Good.
And I said, this doesn't make sense to me. So I kept moving forward, talked to the committee to review and reform property taxes. When I started to say that the Willoughby East Lake School District was going to get over $8 million, they censored my speech. They played classical music over what I said. When I went to them and I said, well, wait a minute, you censored my speech. They said, Brian, I just want to let you know we had a computer glitch. Computer glitch. So I said, well, that's very interesting. We then formed a committee. We said that our legislators are not listening to us. They do not care about us. They care about their donor base. I have a video. Ron Young, who's a former representative and a Lake County commissioner, he asked me on his last day as commissioner, he said, Brian, would you record me? Because I take my camera and record everything for the people. I'm not running for office. I'm not trying to make money. In my retirement years, I'm trying to give back to the community. That's all I'm trying to do. We operate on the biblical principles, never bear false witness. Love thy neighbor is a commandment and is not a suggestion. Yep. So that's what drives me. And when I see what is happening to our community and to the people in the community throughout the state, I get upset about it. Because we're supposed to be the ones in charge. And when I find out that our representatives and our senators don't care about us, I get quite upset about it. And then we're going to call them out. So when we found out that they weren't going to do anything for seniors, we then said, we are the starve the beast. We are going to create a constitutional amendment that eliminates property taxes for everything. Immediately people say, well, Brian, what are you going to do for schools? Well, how are you going to replace the money? And I said, well, you're asking me, and Serena was on the Ron Bird radio show, and he says, it's irresponsible, basically talking about me, irresponsible for this guy to come up with the idea to abolish property taxes without having a plan to replace them. I find that interesting. They're talking about eliminating income taxes, but nobody asks them, well, what are you going to replace that revenue for the income tax? Do you think the income tax is going to help that average citizen? No. It's helping their donor base. Then they say, well, Andy Rose, the Concord Township trustee, says, Brian, how am I going to pay for police and fire? I said, Andy, I'm not an anarchist. I'm going to pay for reasonable government services. Just don't tie it to my home. Send me a bill. But what I want to know from my township, how much am I paying for police? How much am I paying for fire, roads, and bridges? I want to see it itemized because I want to see if you're good stewards of the money. And I'm going to compare that to all of the other municipalities in Lake County. They don't want you. Now, I don't know about Geauga. I'm talking about Lake County. So I don't want any of the Geauga officials to say, how dare he say all this. But I'm paying $2,100 for my services in Concord.
Cheap.
And I said, well, how much is it for police? They don't want to know. They can't tell you. So we're moving forward. What we did is we went to the Attorney General. Then the Attorney General approved our constitutional amendment. Very simple. Abolish all taxes. We went before the ballot board. The ballot board approved our language, and that allowed us to start collecting signatures. We have to get 413,000 signatures to get it on the ballot. Those signatures are due in the Secretary of State's office by July 1st of 2026. It'll be on the November 2026 ballot. If people vote for it to abolish it, property taxes as of January 1st, 2027 will be gone. Then they talk about schools. How are we going to pay for schools? We had Auditor Galloway. He and I have been talking about this quite a bit, and he said, Brian, instead of 611 school districts, we can get by with 94 school districts. Because what's happening in all of the public schools, we've got the administrative costs astronomical. In Lake County, we've got 9 school districts. What if we had one school district, county school district? Everybody can still have the same football teams and their names. It's just that we have one superintendent in Lake County. We want one curriculum director. We don't have principals and assistant principals. We need to cut back. So 94 school districts, one in each county, and the larger counties would have multiple districts. That's really, so we're saying that what we have seen, back up one more time. As an accountant, a CPA, what I would do, I'd use that expertise. I'd be asking for public records from all of the taxing districts in Lake County. What I wanted to do is 3 to 5 years worth of financial statements. I wanted to see if I could make the numbers talk for me and tell me what is happening. And what I was able to pick out very quickly was that these taxing authorities were sucking the lifeblood out of the community to keep their cash balances high. Deepwood had $65 million. Lake Metro Parks had $30 million. The Crime Lab had $10 million. And I kept telling the commissioners that money needs to be in the hands of the people so that we can keep the economy going by spending it in the local communities. Then I find out that the schools have $10 billion in cash reserves. One of the problems is we have no checks and balances in our system. With the county budget commission here in Lake County, it's nothing more than a rubber stamp. All of the schools and all the taxing authorities submit their 3 to 5 year plan, and nobody does anything about it. They can have as much money as they want, and in Lake County, because of Chuck Colson, the prosecutor, you cannot change anything. I'll be real quick. There's some deceptions you really should know about. And I won't try to bore you with inside and outside millage, but the 20 mil floor. Inside millage is unvoted on. You can't vote. That's 1% or 10 mils happens. Most of the schools are getting 4.3 or 4.5 or 5.0. But what happens in with the outside millage, if that millage gets down to 15 mils and they've got 5 mils as inside, that's the 20 mil floor. The outside millage is treated like inside millage. And the same thing with joint vocational schools. Their outside millage, you vote on it, but their outside millage is not subject to House Bill 920. So as your property values go up, if your values go up 10%, your school taxes, if you're at the 20 mil floor, will go up 10%, and you don't even get to vote on it. And I find that objectionable. So you'll see a lot of things coming out of the state with Representative Thomas. He's trying to come up with plans to reduce the property taxes. But what I've been told is that Matt Huffman, who's the Speaker of the House, Rob McCauley of the Senate, basically said we're not doing anything. The people are just going to have to accept what we give them. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move forward on this. We've got well over 2,000 circulators. I don't even know how many circulators we have now. We've got 2,000 registered, but we're getting calls every day for people. If you want to sign, my wife for 50 years, Bernadette, has the forms that you can fill out, and I do appreciate the opportunity. We're fighting for you. Again, we believe that home ownership is the foundation of our freedom and liberty. We want to make sure that we maintain it for you and for future generations. Thank you very much.
I hope everybody found that informative.
Yes.
You got to remember, about 10 years ago, Ohio Supreme Court said the way we were funding our schools through real estate taxes was illegal. But what's 10 years later? Neither party has moved forward in making that change. I guess if they're not going to do it, we're going to have to push it one way or another. Because, like he said, how many people have been forced out of their house that we know of? They've had to downsize or go to an apartment. That's not fair. Those are our homesteads. Those should be able to be passed on to our children. We're going to live there until we decide to die. So, this will be shown, if you want to watch, on the Ohio Political Channel. Am I correct?
Yes. It's
Channel.
the Rumble channel called Ohio Political News. It's also streaming on Facebook. So this Ohio Political News is something that, again, we're trying to get out to each one of the communities and trying to get the information out. It's going to be the news of the future, really.
Great. Interesting. I've got the property in Montana. Same valuations. My property tax is a quarter of what I pay here. That's not right. Why? Because they know how to run things efficiently. They don't have 42 people behind each administrator or superintendent. They keep things very efficient. We do things horrible in Ohio, in my opinion, on some of these things. We've got one thing after another after another. Thanks. I know we're running a little bit late. Okay, let's open up the area so we can get the boxing ring set up in the middle there for all of the three candidates.
Very good.
Okay. All right. Each candidate has 3 minutes to tell us why we should support them for trustee. Then we're going to go to Q&A. I've got a bunch of questions from people that have emailed in. Some of them we came up with ourselves. They'll be directed to everybody or a specific candidate, and the others choose to answer. When we're done, we're going to go ladies first on the questioning. So, lady, ma'am over there, would you like the microphone?
Probably.
Okay. No, your voice is a little bit softer than me, and I understand it, so not a problem. So, this is Janine Reeves. I've been on the zoning board with her. She's one of our candidates for trustee. She's going to give us a 3-minute presentation, or less.
Or less.
Okay, no. We're running behind, so you've got it down to 30 seconds. Okay, here you go, Janine.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Thank you to those that got this together tonight. We do appreciate the information. I am Janine Portman Reeves. I'm going to read this because I'm nervous. I am born and raised Troy. I still live here with my husband Scott, daughter Megan, grandson Dominic. We also have other family members, my sister, my brother, we have another daughter, and we have great-grandchildren. I graduated from Berkshire High School in 1975. I care about what happens in Troy. I attended Troy Elementary before they moved us to Burton. Eldon Russell, a farmer, was my bus driver. His wife, Mary Russell, was my first grade teacher. Tom and Jeanette Briggs, also farmers, were teachers. Troy has always been a farming community. Farming was and is important. Farmers are caring people. They care about their neighbors and will help when and where needed. Growing up around farmers taught me to care and to help. I have served the community for the last 15-ish years on the Zoning Commission Board. Myself and 4 other members review the resolution for accuracy and whether or not the current guidelines are working in today's environment. If not, we recommend changes to be made to the trustees. We bring the information to the residents and then they let us know if we are on the right track, sometimes very loudly. I have been the chairman most of those 15 years. I am co-owner and operator of Job App Assembly, a small business located in Middlefield. However, it began its life here in Troy 33 years ago. I'm the operations manager and have dealt with all levels of the job, from putting together quotes to organizing the build or fabricating to invoicing and shipping the product. I also serve on the board of Birthright Geauga. It's a faith-based ministry that helps singles with children by providing clothing, diapers, formula, to playpens, and car seats. In the last 3 months, we've helped over 300 families. They've been around for 20 years, Birthright has, in our communities. I believe my background qualifies me to help lead Troy Township now and into the future with the assistance of our caring residents. I care about what happens in Troy. Thank you for listening.
I'm going to probably talk a lot of you guys to keep it up there when I ask the question.
I want to thank everybody for coming. Some of you know me as Anthony Hilton. That was what I was born here in Troy. And then in high school I switched to Tony. It was a little bit shorter to write. So most younger generation know me as Tony. I'm also a lifelong resident. Grew up down on Grove Road. Grew up in a trucking family. We work 7 days a week to do our thing. Been married for 18 years, together 21. We have 3 boys, Adam, Garrett, and Mason, 17, 9, and 8. In 2010, my wife and I bought our home from my parents, and this is where I want to call home the rest of my life. And hopefully my kids would like to hang around too and call this home for the rest of their life. I drove truck out of high school. I graduated in 1999 from Berkshire. I started driving out of high school for my parents for 5 years, and in 2004 I took a little step out and got a job at Russell Township, where I worked for 16 years. After my first year, I noticed that we were sending all of the maintenance out for all of our vehicles. There were 10 trucks, 4 pieces of machinery, and some pickup trucks. So I sat down with my boss and I said, this is stuff that I've done all my life. Why don't we keep it in-house? So I was able to save them money with not shipping just oil changes, grease jobs, brake jobs, everything. I kept it all in-house and sent the bigger stuff out that I couldn't do myself. So I had a budget to work with every year. I was the mechanic. I worked on the road with all the guys, and I also plowed snow. We had 55 miles of road, 7 plow routes, so we were busy. I have plowed snow for 28 years between driveways, parking lots, and roads. 21 in just roads. This is my first winter. I stepped out. I'm back in the private world, but we'll get to that in a minute. 5 years ago, I took a different job in Middlefield Township. I was the road supervisor there for 5 years. Again, I worked with budgets. I worked with my trustees on buying equipment. My first year there, we purchased 2 brand new trucks, 2 salt trucks. On average, we did 2.5 miles of road resurfacing a year, whether it be chip and seal or another version of it to get rid of potholes, and really try and save on the patchwork. When I first started there, they went through 300 ton of coal patch a year. On average, that's $85 to $100 a ton. So in 2 years, we went down to about 30 ton a year. So I have an extreme background in roads. I was on the fire department for, I believe it was 10 years here. I had my 240 EMT card, or 240 fire card, and my EMT. I stepped out when we started having kids just to be at home and not be so busy. I do miss serving, but I'm not going to go back to school for the 240 and the EMT at this age. So I've worked with budgets. I've worked with OPWC money through the 2 different townships. I don't know if some of you are familiar, the Nauvoo project from 528 to Hayes Road in Middlefield. That was almost a 3-year project that I started to get it done. That's how long it takes once you put in the application to come to fruition. So I stepped out in the private world April 1st of this year. I had a job offer and I took it, and I don't have to plow snow anymore, which I'm very thankful for. So I just want to thank everybody. Those are some of my background for the job. I want to keep Troy Troy. I would like to repair some things that have been done over the past few years to keep it Troy. I've seen changes in my lifetime, and I like where it's at now. I believe a lot of people do, and I'd really like to keep it that way. Unfortunately, the West is coming this way with business and other things, but we'll take care of that as it comes. I'm not looking for anything. I don't want to bring anything in. You take care of it as it comes. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. My wife could not make it tonight. She was at our oldest soccer game, which their first sectional game they won. So I'm happy. But thank you guys for coming. Yeah, and that's my mom. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I hope to make it in November and really help Troy keep it the way it is. Thank you.
Eric, you're up.
Hello, my name's Eric Matthews. Some of you may know me. I see some of the faces in here over the 25 years that I was on the fire department. I've seen some of you in the ambulance or at a trustee meeting, unfortunately. I was born and raised in Parkman, and 2005 is when the first time I moved into Troy, renting a house and an apartment. Joined the fire department in the summer of 2001, and served up until 2023. I live in Troy, bought my house with my beautiful wife and 6 steps kids who are very active with 4-H and Scouts. Want to keep my family here in Troy. This is home. The reason I'm running for trustee is I feel that you guys need a voice and you guys need a set of ears for you without coming to every single trustee meeting. We've been working for few months right after the trustees did away with the newsletter. I was appalled and said we have to figure out something. You guys have to be informed. We have a large Amish group in our township. They need to be informed as well. We don't need to have meetings of pure arguing. We're here for you guys. I want to be here for you guys. I want to be your voice. And it doesn't matter if you're in the township, if you're in Troy Oaks, wherever you're at. Troy Oaks is part of our township. Okay? I believe you are residents. Even though you're private, you're residents. You need a voice. The things I see on Facebook for you guys, you should have a voice from the township that you live in. Whether we can make a change or not, a voice for everybody. In November, I really hope I can have your vote. I've worked for combined 18 years at the Parkman Road Department. I'm currently the superintendent at the road department since 2017. I'm currently a firefighter EMT holding the rank of captain at the Windham Fire Department, and I am a part-time volunteer with Garrettsville Fire District. The fire department, public safety, and residents, clearly for the last 25 years, have been my key to be there. And I want to continue my lifelong experience of being a trustee and being a voice for you guys in a different capacity. And I hope come November 4th I can have your guys' vote. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a list of questions that we came up with, a lot of emails that we came up ourselves. Nobody's been given these questions. Now, I remind you, we're here to hear what they have to say. If you've got a conversation you need to take, please take it out in the hallway, because we're having feedback from the back of the room. So please keep it down or step outside. Thank you. Okay, first question, ladies' choice. Come up first. Define fiduciary.
Define what?
Define the word fiduciary.
Has to do with economics. I don't know exactly what fiduciary means.
Okay, Tony?
Learned through the years, fiduciary is somebody that is making the correct choice with an unbiased opinion. They're doing it for the people, for the clients, as like a principal or a trustee. They are somebody that is doing it for the right reasons and just listening and making the correct decision.
Okay. Eric?
Kind of mimicking what Tony said. It's somebody who isn't picking a side for something, in my opinion, and going to make a decision and do something that's going to be best for a group and everybody in the township, not just one-sided.
Okay. What volunteer experience do we each have? Now, no offense, zoning, you're going to appoint a position, so you and I can't choose that as a volunteer position. So tell me a little about all of your volunteer experience.
Most of my volunteer experience.
Hey, would you hold? I'm never having a hard time hearing you. We all want to hear what you have to say, Janine. So.
My voluntary experience would be mostly at the church. I was a Sunday school teacher. I was we had a program called Missionettes, which is like Girl Scouts, and I was the teacher as well as the coordinator for many years. I'm on the board of Geauga Birthright. those would be my, as far as I can remember, those are most of my volunteers.
Thank you. Tony.
I went over some of this already.
Would you everybody stand up, because your voice is kind of clouded right into the head of this lady.
I already went over some of those things. I was on the fire department. Actually, I served with Eric for 10 years. I also, in the spring and the fall, with the trash cleanup with the Amish, I go out and volunteer my vehicle. I go out and pick them up. We go out, pick a couple of roads. They clean them up. We throw all the trash in the truck. We bring it back to the community. Wherever we go to do it, that's really the volunteer end of it. I've just done the township road work and all that in my life. So thank you.
Eric.
As I stated, 25 years at Troy. In that 25 years, I also volunteered at Parkman and Burton Fire Department for a combined 13 years, pretty much both departments at the same time. I'm currently the president of the Antique Tractor Club that hosts the polls here throughout the summer. That is a volunteer position. There's no pay for that. And similar to what Tony said, at the road department, NOAA, the Amish group that comes out and cleans up the roads. In Parkman, I volunteered and just went in on my own time, used a township truck to go out and pick up the trash behind them rather than waiting till Monday, because if everybody knows how people drive in Geauga County, the trash might not still be in a bag and on the side of the road.
Okay, this will be a I'll read the statement, and this is a multi-part question. So, as a trustee, you must be knowledgeable of the many facets of running a township. There is no time or room for on-the-job training. What is your experience in the following? And deferring that position to someone else is not an acceptable response. Janine, what is your experience with roads and bridges?
None.
Okay. Tony.
I believe I went over some of that already. It's hard to answer that question any more than I already have. The one thing I can say with the OPWC, it takes a long time, so it's you get your paperwork, you fill it out for what road, and you talk to Geauga County engineers. The engineers come out, you meet with them. That's the first little step, and then you come out again. You look at all the ditches, the culverts, any guardrails that need lengthened, make them higher because you're going to lift the road. There's a lot that goes into it, and then making sure the funding is there. Once you commit to it, you're committed to the job. You're going to get so much money, depends on how long it's been since you've used some of it, and then you're committed to it. And then you put it out for bid, and your road gets done in some facet. So,
okay, Eric, and don't be afraid. Anybody, repeat what you said before. You might have been in your intro, but repeat everything. Any of you, please.
Again, 18 combined years with Parkman Road Department. Prior to that, I had 3 years at City of Solon. With Parkman, I work with the county, the OPWC money, making sure a road is prepared. If you haven't noticed, in Parkman, we are getting rid of dirt roads, I promise. We have been, with the support of the trustees there, you got to understand where you can get money. I'm really, really big on grants. Whether it's for roads or when I was at the fire department, grants are there for everything. I work very well with other surrounding townships with grants, road projects. Bob, who handles Troy's roads, is just a walking book of knowledge. We can surrounding road departments, contact him, I contact him, we contact each other on different things, and it's a great working relationship to save you guys money and being able to do that with the roads to keep them the way they are, because Troy is actually a township that is looked at by many other townships on how they're keeping their roads the way they are, and other townships are using that. So being able to do that with the county and continue to mimic what other counties do to make safer roads, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that continues.
Okay. Next question of the same part. What is your experience with running a fire department? Janine?
Since I've never been on the fire department and I've never been a township trustee, I don't have that experience, but I'm willing to learn anything I need to.
Tony?
I've never ran anything at the fire department. I just volunteered for the 10 years. Went to some schooling for extrication. I did lead that program over there. I also did scheduled all the maintenance for the fire trucks for those 10 years. So that's all I can do for that. Never ran one, but I helped in it.
Eric.
Again, I started in summer 2001. I know I saw him. I don't know if he's still here. Mr. Rick Warner. He is one who took me under his wing when I first joined, as well as Tony, and I served as lieutenant for 6 years, and then in 2017 I became fire chief, and again worked with grants, provided 24-hour staffing. Very, very appreciative, and I can't tell you how much I am of a levy being passed to give you guys the 24-hour staffing from a volunteer fire department during COVID, and holding our word to that 24-hour staffing for 4 continuous years. And that's where I resigned from the fire department to step back with family and stuff after 25 continued years.
Okay. Managing cemeteries.
No, nothing directly. I haven't managed a cemetery, but I have managed books for a business for quite a few years. And I'm certain that bookkeeping is bookkeeping, and I could probably handle that too, except that it's not a trustee job to do the cemeteries. We have hired somebody else to do the cemeteries.
Okay, that's not correct, but that's okay.
Why isn't it correct?
Because the sexton has to take direction from the trustees, and the trustees do the budgeting for the cemetery.
Okay.
So these are 3 main areas where our monies are focused in the township. That's why these questions are coming out and being asked. Not picking on anybody, but this is where our money goes. Roads, fire department, and cemeteries are major expenses. So people should know what everybody's experience is, what the hell they're going to handle it. Okay. Tony.
And when we were in Russell, we had 2 cemeteries, and unfortunately, I have had to dig many graves all times of the year. It is not fun. Any part of that is not fun. I know Bob's done it many times. It's not fun. I've had to backfill. I've had to cremations, met with families, and it's not fun. When I took the new job in Middlefield, that was one thing they didn't have. They had no parks and no cemeteries, so I was actually relieved because it is a lot of stress. And I understand when somebody passes away, everybody is heightened, but we were just there to do a job when it came to the cemeteries. It was nothing personal. That felt very bad for people that they lost somebody. So it's not easy with the cemeteries, so thank you.
Welcome. Eric?
Up until recently, I do not have a whole lot of experience with cemeteries, other than I can tell you who goes in there. I just recently, we are doing our own burials and stuff. I am still learning how to do like plot laying out and everything. So cemeteries is going to be a very big learning experience for me. If it happens in the trustee side of things, other than being the one that digs the holes and covers them up right now and learning that's about all the experience I have with cemeteries.
Okay. Next question. Where does the authority for a township to have zoning regulations originate?
You mean originally, like
Where
back when?
where does the authority for us to have zoning originate?
the trustees?
Tony?
ORC?
Oh, thank you.
Ohio Revised Code?
Yes. Okay. All right. Tony? Well, we already got the answer. So okay. Took you 14 tries, but that's okay. Okay. Well, but close. Okay. All right. We got a lot of questions. I hope people would like to listen to the rest of these. It's your choice. If you burn out, I understand. But a lot of questions came in, and I think they're all important. So everybody has to make their own decision at that point, whether they want to stay or go. You know, but we've got an important election coming up, and I think you should know what everybody's got, what their thoughts are. So, okay. Yes.
I have to go for medical reasons, but I have one quick question. The fire chief said that there's only 22 members currently on staff at the fire department. Can the trustees that are running, can you please tell me what your plans are
Would you?
to
All right.
improve our fire department?
Sir, no offense, I can't take questions out of the audience, but that's one of them that comes up.
Okay.
I cannot, I'm sorry, or else the room will be overrun with questions, will be here till 2 in the morning. Sorry. Okay. What would be your plan to restore and preserve honesty and integrity and fiscal responsibility in the leadership of Troy Township? Seem to have a very negative view at this point of our current leadership.
I agree with that statement. We do seem to have a problem. Communication is tops. We need to be able to talk to each other civilly and have a full conversation, whether it's in public or one-on-one, so that we can come to an agreement of some kind, so that we can settle these hard feelings that we have toward each other.
Working with guys through the years, not everybody's going to get along, but we all stood next to each other eventually and got the job done. I believe that's the same thing up here. Whether it was the three of us sitting on a board or anybody else, you have to be able to work together or else we're not going to get anything done. It's not easy. Somebody's going to have to, just step aside at some point and see what happens. It may be the next person that doesn't agree and just has to, kind of put the hands up and go from there. I do enjoy working with people that I get along with, and I hope to get along with whomever I'm going to be sitting up there with, hopefully, at the first of the year. That's my goal, is to really try and be up there. So it's one thing I said 2 years ago when I ran is I never say anything, because once I say it, I can't take it back. So if you ask me a question and I don't respond to it immediately, people intend to take what you said and they'll spin it, or what you said, and they hold you to it forever. So I try and speak appropriately. Like I said, it may not always come out the best, but I will give you my best in that. That's the best I can do, and I believe that's the best that anyone that may get up there can do. But we all have to work together, and I don't believe right now that that's happening for Troy. So I really do. This is my home. This is everybody's home that's sitting here. We all live in Troy, whether it's the east side, the west side, Troy Oaks, it doesn't matter. It's the Troy is home. So everybody just needs to be able to work together. Our parents taught us that when we were young.
I've been going to enough trustee meetings for at least the last 10 years plus. I was going with Sam Lombardo while he was chief, who I preceded. Our trustees currently, I don't feel are there for you guys. When residents come and I'm sitting in the audience and watching, questions get asked, you have one trustee that's trying to get the other ones to adjourn the meeting. You have another one who just wants nothing to do with what's going on in the meeting. And it's like the hearing of the public just kind of is the last part of the meeting that gets pushed through. That's not how this works. Trustees work for you. You come and explain your problems. Your problems are what's going to help us be better trustees, or whoever gets in, be better trustees for the township. And being fiscally responsible, like you'd asked, is one of the biggest things. You have to know that your money is being handled correctly and properly without having to wonder, when do I get to see the next meeting minutes? When do I have to go to the next meeting? I can't believe this is going to be discussed. And that's where the newsletter comes in. You need to be informed of everything that goes on in this township, because it is your township. Any of one of us who get in, we're the ones who are managing your checkbook in the township. And that's where you guys have to know what's going on. And I feel that that is a big priority, is being your voice, your ears, and making sure you know what's going on at all times and nothing secretive, and working together as a board, not just trying to get out of that meeting as fast as you can and talking 10 minutes before the meeting on what you're going to talk about at the meeting. There needs to be open communication and the ability to work together to successfully hold the position, I feel.
Thank you. In 2018, Great Lakes Cheese donated $110,000 to Troy. They've been donating over about $100,000 a year for the last decade, roughly. but they do expect a report what we do with their money, what the trustees do with the money. That money was not spent until 2022, 4 years later, and there's still a balance of $34,000 that was not spent. Due to the utter lack of accountability by our trustees, Great Lakes has stopped donating money to Troy. Candidates, who do you know at Great Lakes, and what is your plan to restore the confidence in the township's leadership to get those funds flowing again?
I know the president of the company, John Eprick, through GGP, which I belong to. I guess we need to restore the confidence, his confidence in us as a board, and that we would spend the money as they give it to us with the requirements that they have placed. I know that they helped their money build the driveways, and I know they had wanted to build the back parking lot also, but for whatever reason it never happened. And I believe the playgrounds, the one in the back, was bought with their money. So we have spent their money, and they do know how we are spending their money, but it hasn't all been spent. So we will have a conversation to help restore.
Myself, I do not know anybody there, but I do know people that know both the owners, the father and the son. I would like to do the same, repair the damage that's been done. I apologize, but if you take somebody's money and you don't do what you're supposed to do with it, they're not going to give you the money anymore. They're not going to be gracious to give it to you. So if they took the check for $110,000 and the back parking lot isn't paved, that's whomever was sitting at that time. That is their fault. So if we were to be offered money and it's not something that the trustees see fit to spend it on, that would be a conversation to be had. Well, we'd like to take this money and put it here first instead of this. It's a conversation thing. It's not just take it and not do anything with it, what you said you were going to do with it. So,
Eric?
So unfortunately, I'm the one that opened up that can of worms. I had spoke to, and actually Chief Nix was an assistant chief with me, and we had actually spoke to Great Lakes Cheese, and I'd say we had a pretty good working relationship with the whole board down there. To save on taxpayers' dollars, fire department needs a fire truck. All right, it needs it bad. We were talking to different businesses, and that was one of them that we talked to, who actually wanted to sit and talk to us and see what we wanted. We had to build a fire truck to show them what the township needed, and they were willing to work with us. Unfortunately, until the can of worms opened up to why can't you use this money? I was unaware of that. I was unaware of that whole deal that was made. So a lot of that boiled down to the communication. They had absolutely no problem helping and giving to Troy, Berkshire, any place that helps and they want to help, they are willing to do it. There's multiple businesses that will do it. But as it was said, when you get money, you have to use it for what they are giving it to you for. That's why you're getting it. If it was a case of a grant, if you get a grant, you have to use that money for what that grant's for. You can't say, well, I'm not going to use that grant money for a fire truck. We're going to pave the parking lot instead. You will never see grant money again. You got to be held accountable to what you're going for. We got to make sure that we go talk to somebody. If we can get a relationship fixed, that's going to be top and key to me. Because if they're going to be willing to help this township, any dollar that comes from any small business, any business in Troy to help Troy, that is a load off of your guys' pocket, my pocket, all of us. That's saving us money of thinking that we need a levy. Or in the future, if a levy did have to come up, it's not going to be catastrophic because we can get the help. We need to fix that relationship. And it's not with just Great Lakes Cheese. We need to keep a working relationship with everybody and every business in Troy, not just one.
Thank you. The current situation of a fire department is that we're struggling. I think the chief's going to realize it with help. What is your plan to help our chief restore our department to a level that provides protection for our health, safety, and property?
More conversation. I have to find out more about what's going on with the fire department, what we've tried in the past. He has said that we need fire trucks in the future. That means budgeting. He also said that we're in pretty good shape, but we need to have more people. So how do we get people? We have to raise the funds. More conversation. More finding out what exactly we need.
I have to agree with a lot of that. It is about conversation, budgeting. I believe he mentioned a 5 and a 10-year plan. When I was on the fire department, I had a 5-year plan for the trucks, but that was a long time ago. I'll just say that. But it takes time. It takes the community to help also, just to understand that it's not easy. These fire trucks are anywhere from $500 to $1.5 million. And as he said before, 20-year life expectancy. We won't even bring in the NFPA and the requirements it takes once you want to put something like that together. It's crazy what they cost and the upkeep on them from front to back, from the lights, the pumps, and everything else. So, and people have to be understanding when they see a fire truck up there, well, you didn't need that. Well, the old one was 21 years old and it was, or 25 years old and it was out of date. So unfortunately, we have to do something to keep going in the township. If not, then there won't be a fire department. And we need that in Troy. We need fire. We need the ambulance. It's what's going on in the community.
Speaking from experience, in order to get employees to come work in Troy, they need to know that they have support from their bosses, which is more than just the fire chief. You have to have support from the trustees, because as a trustee, they are your employee. If you don't have that support, you're not going to be able to go around and try to recruit people. A fire chief should not have to go to a trustee meeting and ask for $1,200 to fix an alerting system or do something. You should have a budget. The trustees need to give a budget and let the chief do his job. Same with community house or roads. Let them do their job. We need to recruit. One of the worst part is some of you guys who are business owners know this. Recruiting comes with a dollar sign. Okay? We were blessed that we were close to the lowest paid fire departments in Troy, and the morale was very high when we were able to have 36 members on the department. When someone calls 911, Troy needs to be the one that's showing up in your driveway, not waiting for somebody else, because now you're putting minutes on getting care to you, your family, friends, or even strangers. We have 422. Everybody knows when there's an accident, because if you're on Facebook, you know where traffic's backed up, when it is, and where everyone's going. For the fire department, I've worked with Chief Nix. I've worked with a lot of members, some of the members who are here. The ability to have the morale is there, and I truly think they're going to do it. They are lacking the support from the trustees. Trustees need to support the biggest number one priority in this township, which is your safety, and that's the fire department. So anytime you call 911, me personally, when I was a chief, I want to make sure that when you call, we're the ones that are coming. And I know that that is still what they want to do. So the support of getting the fire department back up and recruiting needs to fall on more than just the fire chief himself or the members. The township, the trustees, push. We need, as trustees, need to sit back, and when I say we, I mean anyone who gets in, needs to sit back and say, where's our priority to recruit? Because it's pointless to have 2 ambulances, fire trucks, and stuff if nobody's going to be there to drive it. And that's where the priority needs to be, is how can we get people in, whether it's a little bit more pay raise, get not competitive or the best, but be there that's going to attract people to protect you. Sadly, in the fire service right now, where I'm a captain in Wyndham, We don't have but maybe 3 people who truly live in Wyndham that are on the fire department. Most of our employees come from Canton and all around different areas. And unfortunately, when I left here in Troy, it was the same way. We had someone driving from Parma. We've had people driving from Ashtabula County to come work for $15 an hour. So I feel that the trustees to support the fire department have to be there for the fire chief. We're not going to tell him how to run his fire department. That's his job. We're going to do what we can to support him on what he needs to make sure the fire department stays there and has what they need to make sure they're responding to the residents.
Great. Okay. A couple financial questions. I'm going to admit this is my question. I wrote it out, so I take full responsibility. Okay. Troy has approximately $1.2 million or more in a non-interest-bearing account. What options are available to the township to invest the excess funds that are not needed for 90 days?
Could you please repeat that?
Certainly. Am I not loud enough? You always told me I have a big mouth.
Slower.
Slower.
Yeah, slower.
Slow it. Oh, slow it down. Okay, slow down. Sorry. Okay. Troy has approximately $1.2 million in a non-interest-bearing account. What options are available to the township to invest the excess funds that are not needed for 90 days? If you're not sure, just say, if you don't know, don't worry about it. Just say yes, no.
I would have to have more information than that. I mean, what are the boundaries of what we can do with our money? Where can we put it? Even for 90 days. There's accounts out there, but I don't know what the limitations are.
Okay. Tony?
Actually, I can't answer that to the fullest right now. I would have to look into it also to see if what's available, where it can go, how long, and if the public wants that, if they want their money somewhere else for 90 days. So that's I can't answer that to the fullest. Thank you.
Fortunately, I can't either. Other than with the fire department budget, I know that at the end of the year we can roll it over into being able to keep it for buildings, trucks, and stuff that's a long term, not just a short term purchases.
You guys failed my finance class, to let you know.
That's
By
why we
the
have a
way,
fiscal officer.
By the way, the county has 2 STAR funds. It's STAR funds available for us to put money into it. A short-term and a long-term one that you can roll money into it very easily. Liquid. The short-term is basically a money market fund paying probably 3 to 4%. Run the number at $1.2 million. Take out, reduce it by a third and see what kind of cash we're not getting. For that could be back into the township.
Right.
Okay. What is the current annual budget for the fire department?
I was looking at the budget this last year, and it's very difficult to understand. But I thought it was around $250,000. No?
No.
Okay.
But contestant number 2.
A while back when I was looking at doing this again, I did a records request, and I believe it's 1.3 and change. I believe is the budget.
God, I hope you get that.
Yeah.
I was looking at.
Candidate number 2, you suck. Sit down.
I was wrong.
All right. You better get it, or I'm going to throw you out the door.
Nope, I have. We're going to hold you.
I cannot tell you what the actual current one is. Before I left, I want to say we were right around 560, maybe 570,000 when I left. But I was sticking.
Give that man a candy. Give that man a candy bar.
Yep.
Okay. Pretty close, Chief Hicks. Close enough.
2025 is approximately 552,000. 2026 will be approximately 502,000. So that's pretty close.
So we're going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Inflation. Gold's up. Come on, guys. Okay. All right. What's the current annual budget for the roads then?
I don't know.
I'm looking. I have it in my
Got a
700.
cheat sheet here.
But I figured this would come up sooner or later. 756,000.
Okay. Close? Okay.
That's not the actual budget, that's what we actually.
Right. Ballparking it in there. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. How much gas tax money does Troy receive on an average monthly basis? No idea? You know I'm a finance guy. Come on, people. You should know these. You know be asking these kind of questions that are coming up from the public.
Why would anybody, nobody would really know that?
Yes.
Budget numbers. Okay. All right, anyway, anybody got an idea or not? We get $10,000 from our gas station right over here. Kind of think of what we had at Sheetz or BP down there, what it would generate. That's $120,000 a year that comes back to us. That's out of your budget, Lynn. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to answer that question. It's a little negative. Okay. What is your experience applying for government grants? You guys got to go. I appreciate it.
I'm a small business owner. I don't apply for grants.
Okay. Tony?
In Russell, I did not have the availability to do that because I was just a lower man on a totem pole. But in Middlefield, when we got the new trucks, that was through a partial grant, and then also through the OPWC money, we got road work done, which is a Ohio Public Works. So,
over a period of time in the fire department, again, like I said, I applied for grants, multiple different grants, and I've had a strong background on getting information and being able to apply, and we've been awarded multiple grants in Troy, working with multiple people, especially Chief Comat Parkman. He's a grant writer. He has gotten Troy, I want to say, over $250,000 worth of grants in a 1 year span for fire hose and stuff. So working with grants and getting information, I can do that. As far as the actual applying for it, usually you want to have an actual grant writer do that and prepare it for you.
Okay. I've got to ask you, we've got several more questions, but is everybody happy with the answers enough? You want to hear more questions? It's up to you. I can go till midnight before I turn to him grumpkin.
We don't want to do that.
But you already were grumpy.
Yeah, you're correct. Okay, nothing new about that. So you tell me, you want any more questions?
No. I think we're good.
That's only one person.
Yeah, we're good.
Thanks for your time.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Just to wrap this up with this, thank everybody for coming. You know, I hope you felt the time was worthwhile. You know, your choice of who you pick your candidate has got to be yours. Okay. I plan on doing more of these events in the future. I've been blessed with an incredible business, so I can do this for you. If you think this is worthwhile, let me know. Shoot me an email. If you don't like it, well, I won't read your email, but that's okay. But I'll leave one thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Jocko Wilkinson, the Navy SEAL, the Battle of Ramadi. There's a couple books he's got out about leadership. I think everybody ought to look at them. We need strong leadership in Troy. One's going to step back and listen to the people, not be in the front line or be in the back line hiding. Get involved. See what really is important for this township. Because right now we've got serious leadership problem up there. We got couple big egos. One that doesn't want to pay attention anymore. Our township is going in the wrong direction. I've lived here, like I said, for 55 years. This is the worst group of people I've ever seen in managing our affairs. And that's bad. So thank everybody for your time. And you've got 3 candidates to choose from. You've got 2 out of 3 to choose from. You've got some information here. I hope it helped you.
Thank you, Jim.
My pleasure.